Episode 14, Rich Packs Lunch. Room 10 was already filled with people. Kenneth Stokes, a well-proportioned and middle-aged man, stood at the door of the room and chatted with the general manager of the Golden 5-Star Hotel.
Are you all ready?
The general manager bent his body slightly forward and respectfully said,
Everything has been prepared according to your directions. The only ingredients for the meals you brought this time were an eye-opener for our hotel. You were the only one in New York who can find so many precious ingredients.
Kenneth didn't pay any attention to the general manager's flattery and simply said,
My guest is about to arrive, so go busy yourself.
As soon as the general manager left, the long-haired beauty ran in. When she saw Kenneth, she walked up to him as if she had made a mistake.
Mr. Stokes, I'm late. Sorry.
Sit down.
Kenneth looked at her speechlessly and sighed.
Luckily, Jeff Florento still hasn't arrived. Otherwise, I would have lost face because of you.
She smiled apologetically as she sat down in silence. Kenneth stood at the door of the private room and waited anxiously. A moment later, Jeff casually appeared in the corridor. Kenneth was startled and rushed over to greet him.
Mr. Florento, you're here. Come in, come in.
After being respectfully invited by Kenneth, Jeff walked into room 10. Everyone in the room stood up. Most of them were suits and were in their 40s or 50s. They were all upper-class people from New York and the surrounding states. These are all people who work in the East Coast Division. Kenneth introduced them to Jeff and then said to the others,
This is Mr. Jeff Florento.
Greetings, Mr. Florento.
They said in unison.
It's him.
Thought the long-haired beauty. When she saw Jeff, her eyes widened in disbelief. Her entire body filled with unease and apprehension.
Had I just shouted at the family's heir in the elevator?
Jeff also noticed her, and he hadn't expected that the sexy long-haired beauty would be in the room. Jeff's gaze lingered on her face for a second before he returned to normal and calmly said,
Everyone sit down.
Mr. Florento, please take a seat.
Kenneth gestured to a seat beside the beautiful long-haired woman.
Oh.
Jeff realized and walked to her seat before giving the long-haired beauty an indifferent glance. She glanced at Kenneth again and noticing the questioning look in Jeff's eyes, Kenneth explained who the long-haired beauty was to him.
She is the director of East Coast Division's Information Department, Lucy Smith.
Lucy looked at Jeff with a very bitter, powerless, and dejected smile. It was no wonder that she would laugh out loud, no matter how optimistic she was.
Mr. Florento, please have a taste. I had this dish specially prepared for you.
Kenneth suggested as he placed a dish before Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff picked up a mouthful of the dish and put it in his mouth. It was very tasty.
It's been more than 7 years since I've eaten in such an upscale hotel. This is the first time I've eaten something so delicious in a long time.
Jeff thought silently in his heart. What Jeff did not know was that when the other guests tasted the dishes, their appetites were also stirred and their hearts were also filled with yearning. The banquet soon ended. Jeff had eaten until his belly was full.
Mr. Florento, have you finished? I'll take you to the Bay Hotel to rest after you're done eating.
Kenneth asked respectfully by his side. It was rare for the young heir to show such appreciation, so he had to serve Jeff well.
The Bay Hotel.
Thought Jeff.
No need.
Jeff said. Lucy had been relaxing along the side of the room after the banquet. After seeing Jeff's shy expression, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and quietly chuckle.
Jeff was so cute.
She admired it to herself. Kenneth nodded and the others all sat down. Jeff, without saying anything, Jeff looked at the dishes on the table and seemed to be deep in thought. He took out his phone and looked at the time. It was 1:30 in the afternoon.
Mr. Florento, is there a problem?
Kenneth asked worriedly. It felt it had been difficult for him to entertain Jeff, and he felt he may have failed. If true, and this was spread to the elders, would they blame him? The others also nervously looked at Jeff. Inviting their young heir to a meal was no small matter, and they couldn't handle the stress. How could a bunch of elites from the East Coast Division have the ability to entertain this young man?
No.
Jeff shook his head slowly.
Then you are.
Kenneth was confused. Jeff smacked his lips, looked at Kenneth and said,
These dishes were pretty delicious, so I want to bring some back for my friends to have a taste.
Hearing Jeff's words, Kenneth and the others looked at each other in dismay. For a moment, they were unable to react.
So Mr. Florento was thinking of taking up some food for his roommates. Isn't this unexpected?
Thought Kenneth.
A rich second-generation heir was so considerate of his friends.
While the others were surprised, they were also very impressed with Jeff. With such a rich family, the absence of putting on airs, Jeff would become someone great in the future. Jeff didn't understand their point of view. The others looked at him in a daze. He simply pointed at the delicious dishes on the table and said,
Mr. Stokes, help me pack this and this.
Yes, I'll do it now.
Kenneth nodded as he came back to his senses. As he said that, he had walked to the side of the room and began dialing his phone for the general manager to arrange it. Naturally, the general manager didn't dare to hesitate and ordered the kitchen to make the dishes and with the ingredients that Kenneth had brought. When all the dishes were prepared again, the general manager added a bottle of good wine along with the food. Half an hour later, the general manager and 2 attendants arrived at room 10. Each of the attendants carried a blue and white box in their hands. The general manager said,
Mr. Stokes, it's ready.
Mr. Florento, are you satisfied?
Kenneth opened one of the boxes and saw that all kinds of dishes were packed into smaller boxes inside.
There's too much. I only have 3 roommates. I only want 1 box, so don't waste this. If you can sell it, just sell it. If you can't sell it to your people, just eat it.
Jeff forced a smile and said,
I only asked for 3 dishes to be cooked yet. Kenneth had ordered all the dishes on the table again.
Let me help you carry it.
Kenneth picked up the box himself and followed behind Jeff. The group of people from the room also followed him out of the hotel.
All right, you can all go back now. I'll just take a taxi.
Jeff said as he looked at the crowd.
Mr. Florento, I'll take you there. My car is over there.
Lucy invited her driver to come out.
Sure.
Jeff agreed. With Lucy escorting Jeff off, Kenneth and the rest felt relieved after bidding Jeff farewell. They all left. As they walked to the car, Lucy started to apologize to Jeff.
Mr. Florento, thank you so much for letting me take you back. It was me in the elevator.
She grabbed his hand and said,
Please slap me a few times as well.
No need. Director Smith, what are you doing?
Jeff retracted his hand and said,
I shouldn't have snuck a peek at you in the elevator.
It's nothing. It's my good luck that you saw me. I hope you're not angry with me. I'm very grateful. Thank you, sir.
Lucy bowed to Jeff as she kept talking.
All right, let's just get me back to campus.
Jeff smiled faintly.
Yes.
Lucy responded. As they walked, Jeff took out his cell phone and called his doormate.
Joe, where are you?
I'm still at the hospital in Rose's room.
Joe replied.
They're still in Rose's room.
Jeff thought.
I should go there now with all this freshly cooked food.
Alex frowned slightly and said,
What's Rose's room number? I'll head over there now.
They arrived at Lucy's Mercedes-Benz G500 as he finished talking with Joe.
Mr. Florento, please get in.
Lucy said sweetly to Jeff. Jeff first put the box of food in the back seat, then climbed in. Lucy got in on the other side.
To Peston University, Mr. Florento.
Lucy's driver asked. The 2 of them were alone in the back, looking at Lucy's smiling face. Jeff felt a faint nervousness rising from the bottom of his heart.
Let's go to the general hospital. My friend is there.
Jeff said.
Okay.
Lucy's driver said, smiling, and started the car. The car was filled with the fragrance of Lucy's perfume. Jeff wanted to glance over at Lucy again, but when he saw Lucy's gaze, he quickly turned away. His face flushed and his heart felt flustered. He felt ashamed.
Sir, you can have a good look. I won't say anything.
Lucy puffed out her chest as her soft voice floated over. Jeff was stunned. Lucy glanced at Jeff and said,
Didn't I say this before? Being seen by you is a blessing.
Jeff smiled with embarrassment. Since Lucy had said so, there is no need for him to sneak around anymore. He turned in the seat and gazed directly at her. It had to be said that Lucy's figure was incredibly voluptuous. Everything on her body was captivating, including her earlobes, her ample peaks, and her snow-white arms. Jeff's mouth dry and his face turned red and hot from looking at her. They arrived at the hospital. When she saw that Jeff's gaze was still fixated on her, Lucy couldn't help but shyly smile.
Mr. Florento, we're here,
she said softly.
Oh, we're here,
stammered Jeff. Only then did Jeff recover his composure.
Thank you. I'll be leaving now.
He grabbed the food and exited the car.